The boredom theory, basically everyone these days is never bored. Because the second they're a little bored, what do? They pick up their phone, right? And now we're addicted to it, like immediately. Like when you sit down to eat, you have your phone because you can't sit there, eat and think. Like we're just not wired to do that anymore. So now kids this is what people think they're doing work, but they're actually not. Like they're doing busy work, meaning work that's like 50% focused and 50% not. Like people will do work and they'll have Netflix right in front of them and then their phone right next to them and they'll pick up their phone every 2 minutes. Like you're not deeply focused into that. So how it works is when you check your phone, say you check your phone and then go study. Okay, so I'm checking my phone. I have do you know what dopamine is? Okay, dopamine is like little spikes of happiness, and social media creates these big spikes of dopamine. Okay, and then after you're like on your phone before you go study, which I'm sure everyone does, they go down to study and they're immediately extremely bored because those dopamine spikes are much lower than the dopamine spikes they just had from looking at their social media page. Okay, even when you say you're studying your passion and you get a dopamine spike for seeing a cool fact, okay, it's still not going to be as high as what you're just doing on social media. But say you stared at a wall for 10 minutes before you studied, you would have zero dopamine, right? You'd be bored out of your mind, okay? But then you go to study, those dopamine spikes still happen, and now those spikes are higher than what you were doing when you did nothing. So what will you equate boredom with then? If you stared at a wall for 10 minutes before you studied, what would be boredom to you? What would be boredom? What has less dopamine spikes?
Oh, the wall.
The wall. But see, when we do our phone right before we study, what's boredom?
The study.
The studying.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So that's one way I'm starting to learn to embrace boredom, because that's where all your creativity comes from. See, like people back then, like when there was no technology, they weren't as knowledgeable as us. Like we have way more knowledge to us, we can get it instantly, but we're not nearly as creative and thoughtful and idea making, because we don't sit down and ever actually think about something and let ideas pop in, because we're ingrained in whatever we're staring at in the screen.
Where do you even learn that? Like,
oh, I constantly listen to podcasts and read.
Podcasts?
Yeah. I'm always trying to see, like once you'll find your passion one day, and once you do, you'll get addicted.
Yeah.
Just like people are addicted to social media. But personally, the only reason you should have social media is for something productive.
Yeah.
See, right now, I don't use my personal account. I only use Close the Gate, and I only post. I'm not looking at other stuff. Yeah. You know what I mean? All these kids are addicted to TikTok. TikTok can be good if you follow productive accounts. Like say you follow basketball accounts like CTG, you're learning new stuff. But if it's just like a meme page or like people dancing, like what are you getting out of that? Yeah. Nothing, you know what I mean? So I personally, like I did that in high school. It's called 0 Dark 30. You'd go 30 days of no social media. And for me in high school, that was pretty hard. And it's impressive that you're already thinking about this in 9th grade. But that's the boredom theory, if that makes sense.